מזמור לדוד. אדוני רואי לא יחסר, בנותש ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי ישובב, ינחני במעגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא יירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת ושמר ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ידפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בית אדוני לאורך ימים.
A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me on paths of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of his glory. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod do comfort me. You set a table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yishem Adonai mevarach. The Lord has given, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. This is a very difficult and painful day for all of us, for no one as much as for you, the family, but for all of us, your friends who are gathered here as well. Who feel the sense of shock, sadness, and despair, and the realization that someone who we love dearly and was such a vibrant part of all of our lives has been torn away from us. How much the more so for you, his beloved family, upon whom he showered his love and devotion, to whom he was so completely and utterly dedicated. To lose a husband, a father, a brother, a son, who should have been with us for many long years to come, in health and joy, celebrating milestones in the family yet to come, joyous occasions, additions to family. And suddenly, in a moment, that future is altered. His presence vanished. And it is hard to comprehend even what it means that he's not here. Our hearts go out to each and every one of you. We pray that God should give you the strength for the days ahead and send you comfort and healing through the gentle presence of Gordon's memories. Let them serve as a guiding light and a source of strength to each of you. I'd like to call upon Gordon's sister Rachel, who is going to share some words.
thanks for coming. So, it's been really hard to even remember things because this was so sudden, and it's just hard. But I had an opportunity to talk with Ellen and Susie and Laura and the rabbi, and a few things really did bubble up that I thought it would be nice to share. I mean, many of you talk about his sense of humor, and this began before you knew him, and I have this great story that Ellen reminded me of a couple weeks before my birthday every year, starting when I was probably younger than he should have been doing this to me. He would take me onto his lap, hold my hands, look very earnestly into my eyes and say, you really need to be good now, because if you're not, Mom and Dad can take you back to the police station on your birthday. And thank you, Ellen. I mean, another one of his qualities that I know you all know about is how caring he is. How caring. So another childhood memory came to mind was I was around 10, and I was taking a shower before bed, and I slipped, and I knocked my chin on the rim of the bathtub, and was dried off, and a rag stuck on my face, and the doctor was called, and the doctor said, well, you can bring her to my house, I can sew her up, but she can't scream. Otherwise, you have to go to the emergency room. So who sat with me in the front seat of the car while my dad drove to the doctor was, with the rag on my face, was Gordon. And we all knew that he did not like the sight of blood. I mean, this was not easy for him, but he wanted to be there and wanted to do that. Another thing that comes to mind with respect to him was how he liked to share things that he enjoyed, things that were important to him. I mean, he certainly shared the Cubs with me. I'm trying to do my best, although they're really annoying me right now. But the other thing that he shared was the Chicago folk music scene. I remember later, certainly after I was 10, I was probably in college, he took me to the Old Town School of Folk, to the Earl of Old Town, a very famous spot in Old Town Chicago, and we saw Tom Paxton and Bonnie Kolak. He introduced me to Steve Goodman, who's another famous Chicago folk musician, and I've carried that addition to my life that he shared with me. The last one is the hardest. He really loved his family. He loved his kids and Ellen, and he loved us. And a few months ago, March, I think it was, sent us all a group text. How about we all get together in Chicago? Just the siblings. I mean, Mom lives there, we'll see Mom, but the focus of the weekend is the siblings. We need to get together and hang out and do something. And that weekend was the weekend coming up. So, but hopefully, I know you guys know him, but maybe that kind of completes a little bit, gives you more of a picture of how important those qualities of humor and caring and sharing and love characterized him.
Rachel, thank you for sharing those words. Our rabbis teach, Devarim hayotzim min halev nitnasim lalev. The words which come from the heart penetrate the heart, and your words most certainly penetrate our heart today. Beautiful, loving stories that reveal much about Gordon's character and his humor. Gordon was a loving, devoted son to Alan of blessed memory and to you, Dela. A loving son-in-law to Milton and Sarah, both of blessed memory. A loving brother to you, Jeremy and Kathy, Jonathan and Karen, Rachel and Andrew, and brother-in-law to David. A loving, devoted husband to you, Ellen. A loving, caring, proud father of you, Susie and Laura. A loving uncle to Ruth, Daniel, Ben, Sophia, Isaac, Natalie, Naomi, Alex, Charlotte, and Jonah, and Adam. As many of you know, Gordon was born and raised in Chicago, where he had a love affair with his Chicago sports teams that goes back to a very early age. Even as a young child, he kept track of stats and batting averages, especially for his beloved Cubs. Perhaps that was the beginning of what will become Gordon's life career, a fascination with numbers born of his love of sports. During those years growing up, their father did cancer research at an institute known as ITRI. And their father would get them jobs, summer jobs, research jobs. Jeremy, you did a research job in your father's laboratory, but Gordon didn't like animals and wasn't so interested in the research, so your father got him a job doing punch cards. Perhaps another piece of the puzzle that leads to who Gordon becomes. He majored in math in college and wanted to be a professor. I'm told he had a beard so thick during those years that he stuck pencils in it. And when he would walk in the winter, it would freeze. He was going to do a PhD in math, but he decided to leave school after his master's. And he got a job at General Motors and ended up at Chevrolet Information Systems, as did you, Ellen. The two of you were assigned to the same group. That was fate. That was destiny. You were both assigned there because you both were math majors. There were no computer degrees in those days. They took people who knew math and they would train them. And the two of you were trained to work on this newfangled thing known as computers. And there you were in the same office with Gordon, and you didn't actually like Gordon very much in the beginning. He kind of irritated you. Now you have to understand why he irritated her. It wasn't Gordon himself. It was because, Ellen, you didn't want to be in that office. You would want to be placed in one of several other offices in other cities. You didn't want to be in the city where you were, let alone in that office. So you didn't really like being there, and you were kind of determined not to be happy there. But Gordon was so happy there. He was Mr. Happy, and he was, as we all know Gordon to be, laughing and smiling and full of humor and treating everybody as his best buddy and friend, and that just got to you. But not for too long, because after a couple of weeks, you found yourselves working together over the computer. And as some of you might know, and in those days, the car industry used to roll out new cars at one time a year, and the lead up to the rollout was a big deal and took a lot of intensive work. And so there you and Gordon were working over the computer late at night and over the weekends together, and somehow you went from working on the computer to going out together, and that became dating, which became a relationship, which became marriage and the beautiful family that you have created. I don't know whether you ever did anything to acknowledge to Chevrolet the role they played in your relationship. I'll leave that up to you. When you got engaged, the two of you had to decide where you wanted to live, and you took a vote. You decided that each of you would list 3 cities you wanted to live in and rank them first to third choice. Your first choice was Cleveland. Gordon's first choice was Chicago, but his second choice was Cleveland. And therefore Cleveland won. And our great blessing was that you came here to be with us, to be part of this community, Cleveland generally, the Jewish community of Cleveland, B'nai Yeshurun Synagogue. How lucky and fortunate we are that you are all here. That you blessed us not only with the two of you, but your incredible daughters who have brought so much to our synagogue and our community. And Gordon went to work for Analyst International Corporation, AIC. One of his clients was Goodyear, which eventually hired him on directly, and in more recent years he worked directly for Goodyear. And you bought a house in Beechwood, first a different home, kind of down the street actually, close by, and then the home you're in now in Penshurst, where you've built an extraordinary life and raised two incredible daughters, and have really built a wonderful future. Ellen, you were drawn to Gordon because of his great sense of humor, because he was an utter sports fanatic, especially for his Chicago teams, most especially Cubs and Bulls, and of all of them, especially the Bulls. Gordon was an Indians fan, though it would have been a conflict this year, perhaps, if they both were to make it to the World Series. If they do, maybe the only time in history such a miracle would happen. Two teams that have never won or never won in many years and have struggled so long. But though he would wear an Indians shirt, he never wore a Cavs shirt for the longest time until fairly recently. It was only the Bulls. But even more than his humor and his sports, you loved Gordon because of his family values. Because he always put family first. He put you first, Ellen, and he put the girls first. And he made you all the center of his life, and he was always there to be with you, to share with you, just as he did for his siblings, as you heard from Rachel. He made a point to make time to be with family. He made it a priority to rearrange his work schedule, to be home or to be at a swim meet, to make time to go away as a family. Even in recent years, you went away together, always as a family. You were together for 5 years when you became married June 12, 1983, here in Cleveland. And you enjoyed 33 beautiful years of married life. 33 years in which you shared in life's burdens and celebrated life's joys together and built an extraordinary home and family and a great legacy of love. We grieve because those 33 years should have been many more. There should have been another 33 years and another 33 years. Years in which to celebrate weddings and grandchildren. Years to grow old together in each other's arms. There is no replacing that. And none of us can fully comprehend the depth of the pain that you feel over losing that future that you so looked forward to together. And yet, even in the midst of that pain, there is joy in remembering and celebrating the glory that were those 33 years of marriage, 38 years together. Great joy, great glory in remembering the beauty of those years, the shared times, the love that built this family and made it what it is. Gordon was a very supportive brother to each of you, Rachel, Jeremy, and John. He loved playing with you as children. Rachel, one story that you didn't share, so I'll share it, is that when you were young, you lived in an apartment that had one of these long bowling alley hallways where the hallway went all the way down the apartment and all the rooms came off the one hallway until the living room at the end. 5 bedrooms and a kitchen and the bathroom, and then only at the end the living room. A very long hallway. And he loved to play football in that hallway. Rachel, you were always the football. And last summer, all the siblings got together for the purpose of watching the Cubs, ended up watching the Hawks instead, but you shared that that was a very special and meaningful time together. Gordon was very nurturing of his sister and brothers. Always nice to be around, always fun to be around. Always supportive of each of you. Rachel, he came to visit you at school in Urbana. You go to football games together. The two of you in particular shared a deep love for Judaism. And Rachel, you shared that you guys would go down to visit with him in college, and that was a big adventure because you never knew when you got there what kind of facial hair you would encounter. One time a mustache, another time a beard. You would go to football games, play board games together, and he would just be silly. And Laura and Susie, what an extraordinary father you had. Could there be a more devoted father, more filled with love and pride? I can testify to this personally, that there was not a single time I ever saw your father that he did not talk about you. From the day I came to the synagogue when you were young, till this very day. It didn't matter whether we were there for an education committee meeting or a board meeting or services or whatever the purpose was. He never left without talking about the two of you, ever. And his smile would be as wide as the room and brighter than the sun. He would just glow. He loved you both so much. And he always made time, as I said, to be with you. You shared together in road trips and sport games. He picked you both up for your swim meets. You both did swim. Between you, I think 6 years total. And for those 6 years, he arranged his work schedule to go into work very early so he could get off in time to take you. And then sit there in that boiling heat around the pool to cheer you on. Because you see, Gordon had no sons, so he insisted that his girls had to try sports. In fact, he made you try many other sports as well. And Ellen, you and Gordon would divide yourselves up. Each of you would coach one of the girls during a season. And that's a reflection of how deeply involved you were as parents. It wasn't enough to send your kids off to play a sport. It wasn't enough even to come to the game and cheer them on. You made sure you coached your daughters. And Gordon made sure he coached his daughters because they were so important. And you helped support the whole team. Often you had the team over to your house for ice cream sundaes. And Gordon would always tell you, Susie and Laura, about sports players on major league teams that he thought you would think were cute in order to try to get you interested in the sports. It took you many long years, but ultimately you taught him to love dogs. And though dogs were not in the house for a long time, you did have other pets. And your love of animals comes from him, including the gerbils you have now that you showed me the other day in the house. Everything was always done as a family. To this day, you took family vacations together, went to spring training together, went to concerts, baseball games, all together. Ellen, you and Gordon too loved to go listen to his favorite Chicago folk musicians. He introduced you to them as well as he did his siblings, and you went often to hear them, even seeking them out in Cleveland. Everything was together because that's the way Gordon was. He couldn't envision himself separate from family. You were all a part of him, just as he was and will continue to be, even now, always a part of each one of you. I have to say a few words about Gordon and the synagogue, because your family was so very involved for so long. You came to B'nai Yeshurun congregation in 1988. And Ellen, you and Gordon decided you would split responsibilities as you did for coaching, because you were always personally involved in every aspect of your children's lives. And so, Ellen, you took the responsibility for overseeing their public school education, getting involved in PTA school activities, coordinating with teachers and counselors. And Gordon took it upon himself to oversee their religious education, getting involved in overseeing and supporting their involvement in religious school and synagogue. But Gordon didn't just come to meetings or events or cheer on his children or help them do their homework. Gordon, because he doesn't do anything halfway, became chairman of the education committee of the synagogue. Not for 1 year or 2 years, but for many long years. I want to say 8 years, I think that's right. A very long time. He was chair when I came to the synagogue, and he was chair long after I was here. And he was an extraordinary chair of that committee because he made it a point to know the kids who were in the school. He knew their names and their interests and abilities and knew who the teachers were. He made it a point to get to know the faculty and to know the curriculum. He worked hand in hand with Susan Weiner, our director of education, in every aspect of the school to make sure that it was the best. And during those years that Gordon was the director, not the director, Susan was the director, sorry Susan. During those years he was the chair of education of our synagogue. Our religious school was known as a flagship school of United Synagogue of Conservative Judaism. It won numerous awards and had a reputation in the city for being the best Hebrew school in the city, as acknowledged by the Jewish Education Center of Cleveland and by many parents who would tell stories about how their children would beg to stay and not leave at the end of Hebrew school because they were having so much fun. At the same time, our children came out with the strongest skills in Hebrew and prayer and Torah reading, understanding of Jewish concepts and holidays of any school in the city. We were very proud of that reputation, and Susan, you had an enormous lead role in making that happen as a director of education, and we are ever grateful to you. But I know you will agree with me when I say that we could not have done it without Gordon, who helped lead that effort, corral parents, help them understand what it takes to build a school, help parents understand what the commitment is they need to make to get their children to school and to make sure the children are committed to being present and being a part of the program. Gordon oversaw from the lay side our going through strategic studies and reworking of our school and restructuring of our school and hirings, and all of it he did with great aplomb, with great sensitivity to people, with great loyalty to the values of the synagogue and the school. And we owe him an enormous debt. And we owe him an enormous debt for his friendship and his love, because everyone in the synagogue loved to be with Gordon, because when you were with Gordon, he made you smile all the time. You just could not smile when you were with him. He was that kind of a person. And we will all miss him tremendously. I want to mention too, because I think it's an important thing to share and to inspire others, that among many causes Gordon was involved in, he was a blood donor. Gordon was a universal blood donor, I believe. That's a unique thing when you're able to give blood that is O, right, which means anybody can use that blood. And Gordon understood that his blood was valuable, so to speak, that it could save a lot of lives because it was compatible with everybody. And so Gordon gave every single time he was able to give, however long the waiting period is that the Red Cross requires, and immediately he would be back to give again. And the waiting period, and again, and again, and again. He gave so often that he has something I've never before seen in my life. Maybe you have, I don't know. It's a bobblehead honoring him as a blood donor. I got a kick out of it when I saw it. It's very cute, but also it's very serious. We should work to do the same, to have that honor. Think how many lives he saved because it was so important to him to give back in a way that he knew that only he could. And this despite the fact, as you heard already from Rachel, that he would faint at the sight of blood. That did not stop him at all. Gordon was loving and affectionate and smart, fanatic about his sports, extremely goofy, always being funny and having fun. He had that goofy grin and that wonderful dimple when he smiled, and he made everyone smile around him. He loved everyone, and we loved him back, and we will miss him so sorely. We grieve his passing, but we celebrate his life. We celebrate the good that he gave to all of us, the blessings and the love and the kindness and the compassion and the humor and the smiles, the uplift, because we need more uplift in life. And Gordon made sure we had it. We grieve his passing. And there's no salve to fix that wound. But oh, it feels good to have had him in our lives. How blessed you were to have him in your life. Hold on tight to all your memories of him. Hold on tight to the love and the wisdom and the humor that he gave you, to the values that guided his life and that he wanted to guide yours. And I know that his presence will always be with you and will sustain you. The family is a circle, and that circle has been broken. But you can heal that circle and make it whole again by taking the love that Gordon gave to each of you and passing that love on now to each other. Yehi zichrono baruch, may his memory be always for a blessing, and we say together, Amen. Please rise for the memorial prayer.
El male rachamim, shochen bameromim, hametzei menucha nechona, tachad kanfei hashechina, b'malot kadoshim v'tohorim, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת גרשם בן אברהם ודבורה שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו. בעל הרחמים, הסתירהו בסדק כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום. על משכבו ונאמר Amen.
Exalted, compassionate God, we pray that you grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, the soul of our beloved Gordon, who has been called to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that he find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May the Lord be his portion. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Following the conclusion of services here, we will move to Mount Olive Cemetery for interment, after which the family will be returning to their home at 24980 Penshurst Drive in Beechwood. We will do a brief service upon returning from the cemetery, and then services this evening, Monday and Tuesday at 7 p.m., with visitation upon returning from the cemetery, and at 6 to 9 p.m. each day. Our friends who wish may contribute to the Chicago Cubs charities, Chicago Cubs charities, or the charity of choice.